everybody, the Clear Tai Chi Mastermind meeting for Friday, March 17th of 2023.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day here at this time. Yep. With us today is me, your resident host, Richard Clear. Matt Holker, the regional organizer for Maryville, Tennessee, outside of Knoxville.
Hi, everybody.
Mark Michaud in Central Michigan. I'll tell you what parts.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's the Midwest Michigan area, covering kind of Grand Rapids and Lansing.
Welcome. Harry Legg in Verona, New Jersey, outside of New York City.
Yeah, hi there. Thank you. The school is New Jersey Tai Chi, Verona, New Jersey. Yep, just about 15 miles away from Manhattan. And we also have another instructor, Paul Shansky, who's in Fair Lawn, about a half hour from here. Thank you.
Welcome. Art Don, who is in Greenbelt, Maryland, about 12 miles outside of Washington, D.C.
That's exactly right, Chief. We're 12 miles east of Washington, D.C. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome. I should get less sleep more often. Yeah. Jim Canner in Costa Rica. He can tell you what parts. I know one of those parts is Guanacaste. Okay.
Buena vida, everyone. Jim Canner with Wuji Energy Arts. We are located in the beautiful village of Las Catalinas on the Pacific coast, about 45 minutes from the Liberia airport.
Welcome. Philip Chan in Columbus, Georgia.
Hello.
Hi, Phil. Ty Talbert in San Antonio, Texas. Actually, he's in a bedroom community outside of there. He'll tell you what it is.
Hey, y'all. The school is Warrior Tai Chi. We are actually 3 miles out of San Antonio. We're doing classes in Converse and in Woodcrest.
Welcome. And Sheila Bell, also in Costa Rica, and so she's going to tell you what parts once she takes herself off mute. She must be working right now and unavailable. Well, she is also in Costa Rica. Jim, do you know which parts she's in? She'll be involved in the call as we go forward here. She's got tied up with something for a moment today.
Yeah, Sheila's company is Balance Ideal, and she's based out of Playa Cocos, and she also teaches in Liberia.
Thank you. All right. So if you hear things that you like today, we've got a couple different things for you that tie into this. And by the way, the topic today is the movement for Tai Chi Fighting Applications with Mark Michaud. This will be his hour-long presentation, or 55-minute, whatever it ends up being there, class at the Clear Tai Chi yearly gathering. That'll be the class coming up this June. And that's at that. If you want to see a listing on that gathering of a bunch of mini workshops by a bunch of our instructors, most of the people here on the call will be there for that, and obviously we'll be there for that, and it'll be a great time, lots of fun, push hands, food, great food, a panel talk, all kinds of things, and that information for that gathering, and if you missed this year's, next year will also be great. At least if I have anything to say about it. And that is taichigathering.com. taichigathering.com. That's where you'll go to find out about more of that and register and all those things. If you register early, it includes a t-shirt and the banquet. If you register late, you'll have to order a t-shirt. It'll come to you in the mail and pay for it, and you'll have to also pay for your banquet. So register early. The other thing to know is that if you're liking what you're hearing about fighting applications and that kind of thing, we have a number of items available for those things. You would go to clearmartialarts.com. It includes some DVDs, it includes some online, and it goes everything from eye, throat, and grunt strikes to extreme bone breaks. Those are DVDs you can also just watch online, buy and get online. Not that you have to buy them separately, so whichever one is better for you. It's not that you get both of those things. All right, you can buy them both. All right. We also have a whole module of rapid apps where it's 10 to, I think the most we've got on one application there, one move is like 50 applications, and they're done where it's just one after another, after another, after another, after another, and then they're broken down and actually taught. But you can see the goal there is to get you so comfortable with it and for what it is that you can do them really well, really quickly, really easily, And that it then will influence your whole Tai Chi. And that is what we found has happened for everyone who has studied that, which is a number of people now. And to get that, go to clearmartialarts.com. And in that case, you'd be looking at our fast applications.
If you're already a member of the the Clear Tai Chi monthly online program, it is module 5 of the level 2 program of the intermediate Tai Chi program, but it is available on its own for people who just really want to get that intensive study in on the applications and be able to really like use the Tai Chi at that kind of speed and efficiency. And so yeah, so check it out. It's the fast applications or fast apps on clear, like you said, clearmartialarts.com. And there's lots and lots of training, great training available there. So even if that's not your thing, it's worth checking out and seeing what is there, because there's probably something for you if you're into Tai Chi.
Yep, there is something there for you if you're into Tai Chi. All right. And I did see how much it affected for the rapid apps, how much it affected everybody here that did the work for that, how much it affected their Tai Chi overall and really made a difference to it. So
I can definitely speak to that. Having gone through it myself, it really does. It gives you a whole new perspective on each and every move. And it gives you a whole new sort of range of things to be thinking about and working on when you're doing your form work. It's really, it is a game changer for your Tai Chi practice.
and that's it. That's at
clearmartialarts.com.
cool. All right, Mark. Take it away. Movement for Tai Chi fighting applications.
Alrighty, yeah, the kind of the thing that got me going on this particular idea was I had started out in like hard style martial arts, karate, jujitsu, wrestling, that sort of thing. And so as I was looking from the outside in at Tai Chi, you see certain things. Something that seems that some of the things that I saw was students in Tai Chi seem to struggle with understanding the theory and putting it into practice, because each style kind of has its own theory, like why it does what it does. And it seems like a lot of students in Tai Chi aren't sure what that is. Like maybe they haven't been told, or maybe it's just that they're moving through the form, and it's never been addressed. But a lot of students don't seem to be able to, in like a live situation, put their techniques into practice. Another thing too is I noticed that they seem to neglect their footwork. So the only real footwork practice they're getting is when they do their form. So they're taking their three steps forward, 3 steps back, 3 steps to the side, 3 steps to back, that sort of thing, but without moving freely around like a ring, for example, or around a space. You have to be able to move organically, smoothly, and transition between steps, and that's something that seems to be lacking. And then when people do try to fight with Tai Chi, what they're doing is they're scavenging from external martial arts. So what they're doing is they're taking an external martial art way of moving.
You're saying that this isn't everybody, but it's common.
Common, yeah, it's very common to where it sends the wrong message to the outside world about what Tai Chi is.
Yep.
And the best way I could liken it, and what happened was, the thing that really made it click for me and figure out kind of what the problem was, is you and I were sparring like a year and a half ago. And when I sparred with you, it took me a minute it took me probably a couple weeks to process what it was I was experiencing. And what it is I was thinking of fighting like chess, which is what a lot of people are doing. That's really not what Tai Chi is doing. Tai Chi is more like Go, the Japanese game of Go. You're controlling space.
Yes.
And so what is happening is, if you're fighting someone who's using Tai Chi properly, you feel like you're fighting a blanket, and you feel like you never have enough space if you're being crowded. Even when you're far away from me, when you're just outside of kicking range, I could have that sense of like I felt crowded a little bit.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. And so that kind of was the impetus for this research I did to figure out kind of what the problem was. And so one thing I did is I went into the internet, because there's like I said, there's an image that Tai Chi is not for fighting.
Right.
And so I found 10 websites that had all done they were like where some martial arts expert had gone through and looked at all martial arts, and they had lists of what the 10 worst martial arts for self-defense were. And Tai Chi was on all of them.
At the top of the
And
list.
usually it was number one.
Yeah.
Not always, but usually.
Yeah.
And that's quite telling, and to a certain extent, when you do Tai Chi, you're kind of offended a little bit. It makes you bristle. I imagine it does it for all Tai
that,
Chi.
you got to use it, but you also know that obviously there's a large population out there that they know the form and they don't know anything else. And if they just know the form, it'd be like somebody learning a white belt kata, going through that kata and going, okay, I know how to fight with this. And it's like, no, you know a form. That's not the same thing by a lot.
I think my experience with Tai Chi people in the past, maybe who weren't super skilled with fighting, is that even they are kind of prickly or offended. Some of them are, because they have this thing that is the ultimate fighting style.
Yeah, if you're trained to fight with it.
Yeah.
Not if you're doing choreography on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I did is I went through hundreds of videos. Well, first of all, what I did was I went through those 10 sites, and I just want to get a snapshot. What is it that they're seeing? Because I can learn a lot. There's always a kernel of truth to what they're, if you're honest with yourself, you look at it, you can look at it and go, oh, and then you assess yourself and you make adjustments, right? And you can also use that as a vetting process when you're looking for a Tai Chi school. And so when you look at the history of Tai Chi, it's called Tai Chi Chuan, means supreme ultimate fighting method. In other words, it should be one of the best. And if you look at the stories, there's all sorts of really amazing stories about the fighting skill of Tai Chi masters.
Yep.
And it was not something where it was just them talking. Other people in the past were talking about them.
They were in open tournament stuff where they were out on the floor fighting somebody that could fight. That had a style that the style was about fighting, not about all of the other things that Tai Chi can get into. And they were, and so it was a like going to an MMA match thing, but using the Tai Chi. Yep.
And you actually had a teacher in China who fought in the last full contact match, right?
Yeah, last full contact death matches.
Yeah.
He primarily used Xingyi and Dongbei and some other systems, but he understood the Tai Chi as well.
Yeah. So obviously some point it was legit and real, like top notch. And so when I looked into the analysis of just kind of, I have some little statements here from these sites. And so one of them said, is Tai Chi even considered a martial art anymore? Another one said,
well, and to be fair, there are a bunch of people doing Tai Chi that will tell you that it's not Tai Chi Chuan, that it's Tai Chi, and that they're doing the form with their head in the clouds and the, moving through the moves, and that it's a meditation and for the health, and even though they're not able to tell you anything about the health, that's a different story. But then that they'll tell you right now, I don't know how to fight with that, and I'm not learning how to fight with that. I don't want to learn how to fight with that. And that's what those folks are doing. And unfortunately, that may be as large of a number for what Tai Chi Chuan is as 90+%. Like 9 out of 10 are doing it that other way. Yeah.
So does that mean that maybe the largest style of Tai Chi that's being practiced is cloud heads?
What was that? What did he say?
It's not worth repeating.
Oh, okay.
But and the other thing is for what you're talking about too, is that it's not like you go to the other martial arts study and then come back to Tai Chi and have to decipher it. It's okay to do that, but that's not where you should start. Where you should start is having a teacher, and all the clear Tai Chi teachers on here, and the people who actually represent our style worldwide. this is part of the training, is that they have applications for the Tai Chi, both straight out, this move does this move does that, and each of those moves having an average of 75 or so applications each at the basic level. Then, but where you're doing that, and then also different kinds of push hands for use, which is teaching you about contact and proximity and space and distance, and then actually fighting methods. And we do a fighting method each year, and then how those fighting methods work to utilize that information in a fighting context that way. Anyways, so but learning the fighting from somebody that actually knows how Tai Chi is used. And then, okay, now what happens when it's engaging with MMA or with the wrestling or with the boxing or with the kickboxing, whatever the style, the other kind of a style that's out there might be. How is that movement, and how is that level of contact, and how is that all those things? And then you can draw information or look in the Tai Chi and see that a bunch of that stuff is in there, a bit different, but that it is hard and fast and those kind of things. Don't confuse hard and soft with internal and external. They're different things. So one of the harder things that people usually don't get used to is that because they've looked at like a Yang, sometimes a Wu style of Tai Chi, they think that all the Tai Chi to be internal at all is soft. But that's not true. My teachers from early on taught Tai Chi is hard and soft. It is internal. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so some of the things that some of the conclusions they reached in these sites were, let's see, Tai Chi is one of the worst martial arts to learn. Martial art where trophies are given out for fighting the air instead of an opponent. Useless martial arts to learn, worst martial arts to learn to protect yourself. And then when I got to their analysis of why they were saying these things, what was the background or what was the kind of the evidence?
Where are they getting their information that Tai Chi is such a horrible fighting style, right?
Yeah. And so what they were saying by what they had seen was that the Tai Chi people had no real-time experience. Tai Chi advocates say they will employ their opponent's energy against them with little effort, without ever acknowledging that they have no idea how to implement it when being attacked by someone being both violent and prepared.
Yeah.
More of an awkward solo dance party than a practical self-defense tool. Tai Chi students.
One of the differences in our style that I've actually used all of the fighting methods at least once in a real street level situation while being attacked, and all of that, and some of them I used more than a few times, not all of them.
Well, and our training for the combat Tai Chi is very much hands-on and sparring based, and
safety in mind, but not.
It's not the solo dance party in the air and somehow you magically know how to fight. It's not that.
Yeah.
It really is seeing it. Jim, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Mark, these resources, these websites that you're finding, are they Tai Chi websites, or are these other martial arts schools that are teaching something different?
So some of them were other schools. Well, first of all, if I'm looking for the propaganda that's, because there's this message out there that Tai Chi is ineffective. If I go to Tai Chi sites, they're all going to say it's the most effective art there is. So this is almost all people who are outside of Tai Chi.
I mean, the question when I talked to somebody, like I met somebody in the supermarket that I knew from years ago the other night, and he asked me about some things about what we were doing, and I was talking to him briefly, and I was like, Tai Chi and the complete martial art of Tai Chi, and he was like, Tai Chi is a martial art?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's got self-defense things, and and he had the normal thing that people have, which is, isn't that really slow stuff?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, well, not when you're using it martially, it's not, but in the normal basic practice of like movements that most people are familiar with, the beginner, the kindergarten version, and then your cool down and your warm up and your cool down. Yes, it's that. But there's a lot that's like 1% or less of the art. There's all the other 99%. There's a lot of other things. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. Even though the what people see 99.9% of the time is that form, whatever form it is, being done slow in a non-martial kind of a context, typically. And when I say that, if you're thinking about using it as that, and then you'll get people that'll take the Tai Chi and be like, well, well, now it's not Tai Chi anymore, right? They're doing all kinds of things that are off. But when they're going through, even if they know there's a martial thing to it and are aware of it, you're not doing it in a particularly martial way. You're thinking martially, but you're not doing anything that would lend itself to that other than thinking about it. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, another thing is they noticed that Tai Chi students never spar, neither do they use any sort of live drills against a partner who's putting up resistance.
Well, what's interesting about that is that they're saying that that's the stand, again, Tai Chi, not Tai Chi Chuan. That would commonly be true because they're just doing the form again and again and again. But if they're saying about Tai Chi Chuan as the whole martial art, there are other styles and schools, not just ours, that do the sparring and do the pressure testing and resistance and all of that stuff. The bigger issue is that there's more of them that are mixing MMA into it, calling it Tai Chi, than there are people doing Tai Chi currently. But there are other Tai Chi people where they're doing that whole thing.
Yeah, but it doesn't even sound like the MMA thing is what these guys are talking about. They basically looked at a bunch of Tai Chi people that are not doing it for fighting, that are specifically not trying to do it for fighting, and said, well, that doesn't fight so well. And well, duh.
Yeah,
They
well,
weren't doing it for that.
Yeah, if it's Tai Chi, not Tai Chi Chuan, they're right.
Yeah. But it doesn't sound like they've looked at anyone who's really doing it for fighting, because everyone I know who's doing it for that has some level of like engagement with another person in as a very regular and substantial part of their training.
If I had somebody that was really curious and they couldn't travel and they're not near any of the clear Tai Chi instructors, I'm gonna see who the closest like Chen stylist is to them, that's a real Chen stylist, and go interact with that guy. They may or may not have it, but commonly out of the styles, they're the one that's most likely going to have martial things going on that are going to be noticeable, a little more respectable to somebody that's all about fighting, right, for their martial art. And then after that, I'd have to look and see individual practitioners, which there are some, and I know who they are. But again, it's not the bigger part of the population in Tai Chi. But if you're going to do Tai Chi Chuan, the whole art, it is. Our book that we're working on, I made sure to put in there, and there's over 50 pages just on the fighting, just on the applications and how it's used and how you fight with it and that kind of stuff. And I made it a point, I'm making it a point in the book that the thing I'm talking about here is the whole art, Tai Chi Chuan, not just Tai Chi, because the Tai Chi so often is just a form, and that's not a martial art. That's a health practice or a mind practice, or by health I mean you're getting off the couch and you're doing something other than sitting there eating bonbons. Because there's better health in that in Tai Chi, but not just because you went through the moves. Other than you're like that. Anyways, anyways, so that's what I got for now. Sorry, go ahead.
Could I interject a question? It's related to something you mentioned earlier about the stepping. So one of the things is when we do form, our stepping, we just do one step at a time. We're not closing distance to engage someone, and we're not retreating quickly to avoid someone when we do form. And one of the things,
typically going through the motions, and even if you had it better than that, it's a health thing. It's not like not like you're thinking about strategic movement, right, while you're going through the form. Normally, even people thinking about it martially, like in our curricula, including in that module 5 for the fast apps, I put a part in there just specifically about stepping and footwork and using it.
Oh, interesting.
And that kind of thing. That is in that module. And I did that separately, specifically because I realized that when I was doing most of the moves, that that although I showed some leg things, it wasn't getting into the footwork and the stepping as much, because it's
Okay.
just, it doesn't lend itself to that unless you pull it out and look at it for itself.
So let me ask a question about this, because it's puzzled me for a while. So one of the things when I was doing ninjutsu, my understanding, Tai, and I didn't get as far as you did, but my understanding in ninjutsu was a lot of the power comes from weight transfer when we step. So in many of the applications in ninjutsu, we step at least once, often twice, and the horizontal movement of the body mass is a significant part of the power.
It's not the only power source, but it is a power source, yes.
Okay, so that is part of Tai Chi as well.
Oh, absolutely. Right now.
Okay, because it's not something, I know that we get some of the power from dropping root and from other things, but I had not been introduced to that part of generating power in Tai Chi up until
Trick
this point.
is that from a simple standpoint, that a lot of people, I've seen this, they'll think it's about the momentum going forward. And
Yes.
that's not how you generate power with it. That doesn't mean you couldn't get some from it or whatever, or a shift and getting where you've got weight coming out, but it's not certainly not primary. And even when you look like you're doing that, you're doing some other things to derive that power.
Okay. Interesting.
And ideally trained where you're not having to think about that, where it's much more automatic, because you don't have time to think about that in a self-defense situation's quick. You can't be like, okay, I'm gonna put my weight, I'm gonna do, no, what you're gonna do is wake up on the floor if you're lucky enough to wake up. It's got to be that it's already there. And so there's ways of training the set with that in mind. And we've got that again in our curriculum. In fact, it's what
I think Mark is going to talk some about that at his gathering.
At his gathering workshop,
Right.
public and introducing of it. So cool. Yeah, Tai.
Okay.
Now,
Tai was going to
thank
say
you.
something.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Phil, because basically I had been using my ninjutsu footwork for my Tai Chi, especially the angle portion of it. Not so much for getting power, but using angles and closing down spaces so that people didn't have a way to escape.
Yeah, go to the module 5 on our intermediate Tai Chi program, which you can get at clearmartialarts.com, and get the module 5, the fast apps, the Tai Chi fast apps. And in there's a section that's labeled about footwork for fighting. And that's
Okay.
all that's and there's a piece in there that's just about that. And then, like you said, Mark's going to introduce part of it, probably sounds like at the gathering. So let's let him get back to it. Sorry. All the
That's cool.
We've generated a ton of discussion, and Mark hasn't even gotten to his questions yet. Like he actually has questions for us all. But we've just been busy picking his brain. Anyway, go ahead, Mark.
Anyway, let me just add another piece of 2 cents. So as far as Supreme Ultimate Fist, there are at least some authors, I think both Francis and I think Yang Jwing Ming has said, Supreme Ultimate Fist is not a boast that it's the most effective fighting system. The Supreme Ultimate is referring to the underlying philosophy. The boast is about the underlying philosophy, and the fist is the system that evolves out of the philosophy.
Yeah, I can speak to that directly. They were the Chens, they had a bunch of different names for all the different arts that had kind of informed it, but the Chen family was like a bottleneck for the system at that point in history, and they were looking for a good name to brand their art. And at some point, a Taoist philosopher who was familiar with the sort of sub-philosophy of Tai Chi, this supreme ultimate polarity of like heaven and earth and yin and yang and these things, saw the martial art demonstrated and said
they were fighting. The guy was fighting with it.
And he said that what that dude is doing is the embodiment of Tai Chi. That is the martial art of this philosophy of Tai Chi. And the Chens went, wait a minute, Supreme Ultimate Fist? Yeah, that's what we're calling it. We're calling it that from now on. And so it wasn't really a boast in its origin, but they're using it as a boast. They absolutely are.
And I think that those two definitions are not mutually exclusive. There's an overlap there,
Yeah.
And
So-
twin fist at that point was really kind of referring to fighting style, is kind of how we would look at that. So like Xingyi twin, which is Xingyi fist, you know, the five element fist shapes, that kind of a thing. And so the fist being that they're indicating it's a martial style. Anyway, sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Could I just interject for a moment?
Sure.
That I had a teacher who said if you look at the historical meaning of the pictographs in the Chinese letters, that you could also interpret the Tai Chi as a human standing like a tree between heaven and earth with mouth and hand. In other words, breath and
Yeah.
limbs, right?
Yeah, so connected.
So that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
This is what Carly's class will be at the gathering, is going to deal with this subject a bit.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, Mark. Well, I'm afraid we're out of time. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's wrap up. No. Yeah. So anyway, so after looking at the analysis other people had done, what I did was I went online and I tried to find every possible strip of video showing Tai Chi people either in push hands or in actual like real combat or some sort of sporting event that was full contact. And it was not great. most of the clips, almost all of them, the Tai Chi person loses badly and quickly. And so I did an analysis of what was going on with that, what I could see. And so one thing is they're demonstrating a low level of fighting ability. And I can get into that in a minute.
No fighting ability.
Yeah. So, and I'll get into that in a minute, what I saw from that. But one thing is, the one thing that for the seminar I'm going to be doing is, if you look at footwork or controlling space, if you look at just any sort of fighting at all, whether it's a schoolyard fight, a bar brawl, a martial arts competition, there's kind of like levels. You can see how good somebody is by their footwork. And so if someone has no footwork, they're a very low level of skill.
Yep.
And if you've ever seen two kids in like the 7th or 8th grade, they just stand toe to toe and they swing, right? And everybody forgets to move. And then the next level would be somebody learns, hey, I can move forward back. I can kind of dip out and move back in, right?
Yep.
Then the next level is kind of a side to side movement, because then when they attack, you move to the side and you're right there, and you don't have to do a step to move back to move in. You're right there.
Yeah.
And then you have the ability. What's that?
Requires a little better timing, so you're not getting hit, but it's much more strategically advantageous. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Then the next level will be kind of like being able to change directions under pressure, and then the ability to control the space. So you're not just controlling your movement, but their movement. And almost most of the fighters that I saw on the internet were like no movement or a little bit of forward back, and mostly they were like backpedaling, and getting trampled into the ground, right? And
as soon as I tell you that when I first saw even the first one where you saw a Tai Chi guy supposed Tai Chi guy getting the crap beat out of him, that I didn't know I figured the outcome of the video was going to be bad, but didn't know, because it was like Tai Chi master, like that. And they start off and the dude does this and he's frozen in place. And I went, oh, this is going to be bad. And it was.
I know what you're talking about. I've seen that one.
Yeah, it was really obvious. He's about to get grounded. The dude doesn't know anything about how to fight with Tai Chi.
I felt kind of sorry for him, actually.
Obviously.
Well, what's funny is this, the same people that recognize Tai Chi as this, very valid and very formidable martial arts style. Once upon a time, they used to comment on how fast and deceptive the footwork was. Like that was a
known for fast footwork.
No,
That's been forgotten over the last 100 years, but it was at one time known for having very deceptive and fast footwork.
Mm-hmm. Which goes directly to what you were saying, and when you see these supposed Tai Chi guys come out and they're lead-footed and stuck in place and they're barely moving, they can't really know how to fight with Tai Chi, because that's not how the guys who were beating everybody 100 years ago were doing it. They were moving their feet.
I've actually had 2 Tai Chi instructors who made me take cha-cha lessons. Well, we had cha-cha lessons as part of class.
That'd be a fun way to get footwork.
Yes.
I would think that'd be kind of fun.
You should get Daniel to teach a class.
Yeah, well, Mark may be rethinking some of his presentation points at the gathering now.
You don't want to see me dance. That's like a wounded animal.
I can see it now. Cha-cha for fun, health, and killing people.
That's not original, Jim. He's now deceased, but Fifu will leave it. Use those terms exactly.
All right.
You know, I
sorry.
was just thinking, there's something very interesting as now that you mention it is in cha-cha, the beginner's mistake is to take a long back step and to drop your weight back into your heel. And then it's very slow getting off. And the proper back step, actually, the ball of the foot goes back. The heel does not touch the ground, and then you go immediately forward. And that really, when I think of it, I can see why they told you to take those classes.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's a lot of very small side to side movements. So
That's right.
very cool.
Very controlling space. Getting command of the space. Yep. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Well, as you say, Sifu, I think you have an option here for a new DVD, Cha-Cha for Tai Chi. Tai Cha Cha Cha.
I would have to take a lot more cha-cha lessons to be able to do that.
Phil might be able to put that one.
I
on
had
for us.
some many years ago for a little bit, but it's been a while.
Yeah, that was Bruce Lee's specialty.
Mhm.
I don't know if he did other dances, but he was a cha-cha champion in Hong Kong.
And Master Ma was I don't know if he was a champion, but he was known for the cha-cha, Master Ma Yuliang.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure he competed and actually won. He won contests, as far as I know. Yeah.
Yep. Anyways, Mark.
Yeah, so when I analyzed the videos, what I saw was they had poor positioning and defense, poor footwork. They were unstable under pressure. Their footwork was unstable under pressure, not controlling the space, poor conditioning, and they didn't seem to have an understanding of fighting from a Tai Chi perspective, the tactics and strategy. What I saw them doing a lot of times was like you could sense an unsureness of how to proceed. And they would usually start doing like a crappy boxing or would start mimicking wherever the opponent was doing. So if it was a karate person, they start standing like a karate person, or if it was a Muay Thai person, they start to stand like a Muay Thai person. And that didn't work out great for them.
Nope. If you're going to stand like the other guy, you better know how to fight his fight better than he does.
Yeah. And then there seemed to be no power to their techniques. They had poor timing. And more importantly, psychologically unprepared for violence. You could sense fear on a lot of them, especially if they got hit once.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see it in their body language. Then after they got poked once or knocked down, visibly shaken. Now the thing is, so with clear Tai Chi, none of that is true. All the stuff I just told you is completely opposite or contrary to when we're doing clear Tai Chi.
Well, we try to train it to be a
Yeah.
lot smarter and better than that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with Tai Chi, there's proper positioning and defense. Okay. Proper stable footwork suitable to all terrain. So a lot of martial arts train for the ring. So they have a way of moving, that's conducive to a stable ground with good footing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's not necessarily going to be the case in the real world.
Usually it's
In the
not.
real world, you could have uneven terrain. You could be fighting in the dark, fighting on the deck of a ship. You just don't know. It could be anywhere.
I was going to say wet and areas that are slick or gravel. That's some stuff that's going to slide. Very common.
about half the year, well, I started in karate, as did you, Mark, and you're up in Michigan and I was in Minnesota, those northern M states, and like 5 to 6 months out of the year, you got to be very concerned with your footing because there's all sorts of snow and ice everywhere. And those high kicks aren't quite so, you don't want to quite throw those so much as you do in the dojo when you're out on slick ice.
And even throwing a punch, if you're using karate and you throw a punch, there's a little bit of a slide between the feet where you're going to injure the muscles on the insides of the legs. You feel a little like a jerk or pull because your feet slide out a little. Yeah. So anyways, Clear Tai Chi also shows you how to control space. It cultivates internal skills for body conditioning to take and receive blows and proper breathing for endurance. As a cohesive strategy utilizing tactics to implement techniques from the Tai Chi form effectively in combat. Teaches proper timing. Psychologically prepares you for combat through pressure testing. Does anybody have, just because I said a whole lot there about the Clear Tai Chi in relation to or in opposition to that outside propaganda, I guess you'd say, or observations from the outside world. Does anybody have any insights? Because I know some of you have done other martial arts. Does anybody have any comments or insights related to what I just said?
Well, I'll mention one of my students who's former law enforcement, and he's in 2 different karate systems prior to coming to me, and he maintains that. In one, he's a 2nd degree black belt. In another, he's a 4th degree. I think it's in Goju-Ryu, but I may be misspeaking regardless. And he took Sifu Clear's water fighting method workshop 2 years ago. And one of my favorite comments that he made, and he was dead serious, he was mortified. And he said, "Oh my God, should we be teaching this to people?" Because it was that devastating. And he was serious. And
Well, as a law enforcement professional, I'm sure he's going like, "Oh my God, I don't want, your average like street hooligans learning how to do this."
Yes. And one of the things, going back to your, at the beginning of this segment, Mark, where you were talking about all the people online and whatnot, constantly there have been those that have tried to goad Sifu Clear or any of us to, well, let's see it. Show us video of you fighting. And we know that they're just going to be the ridiculous armchair quarterbacks. They're going to think they know what they're seeing, but they're not. They also wanted to just try to deconstruct it and then try to teach it themselves when they have no freaking clue. So the fact that we don't show it is for very good reason. If you're serious about wanting to learn this, what do you have to lose but to pay for one of the workshops, come to it, and then if you find out it was a crock of crap, well, you're free to say so online.
Well, and
that
if I
ain't
get
going to
somebody
happen.
that really wants to see, and they come out live, and there aren't cameras, and that's the trick part, is I'm not going to let them film me.
Right.
I will absolutely happily show them, and I'll show them just enough so that they get it very clearly, and then they'll be like, "Okay, that's it. I showed you." And I'll be like, "But I can't do it yet." That's right. You're going to pay for that. That's not free.
Yeah. And they never do show up. And some of them are only a few hours away from Tennessee, where Sifu Clear is. So there you go. Anyway. And now, a word from our sponsor.
When Tai Chi fights, it is vicious. Every move in Tai Chi has at least one eye, throat, or groin strike concealed in the movement. For much more on that, go to ViciousTaiChi.com. I created a course that shows where the quick and dirty fight enders are hidden in the Tai Chi form. Many of the applications are so simple that you can pick them up just by watching the video. The course has a broad selection of moves that are common in most Tai Chi forms. And once you watch the applications in this program, you will start seeing eye, throat, and groin strikes everywhere in Tai Chi. Once again, that course is available at ViciousTaiChi.com. That's ViciousTaiChi.com.
I have a question. So one of the things that you mentioned, Mark, was that part of clear Tai Chi is the learning the ability to absorb punishment. And certainly iron body is a large part of that. Is iron bell or learning to absorb punishment in the head, is that part of clear Tai Chi or?
The head's not first. First, you need to be able to do this at the body level really well.
Okay.
And then we are avoiding parts like direct to the spine and these kinds of things. And like on the hard part of the sternum, if the person's got that, and throat and eye and those kind of things, right? But then once somebody has built up the areas that are, if you do it wrong, it's less likely to damage you and get good at that, then we start adding, and like the ribs too, to some degree. And I only mean in terms of like a direct intended impact in, but then like the ribs are one of the first ones once they've got other body parts working, and then over time, and then the spine, and then eventually, yeah, the head too, and all of that. Yeah, in there, but it is further up, because if you're going to make a mistake, I want you to make a mistake like chest level, belly level, where it's like, and a couple minutes later you're okay. I don't want you to make a mistake where it's like, oh boy, we get to go to the hospital now and explain this, or try to explain this, or explain to the family why this person's impaired from now on, that he didn't need the left eye, it's okay. And so for doing it. So it is that eventually what you asked, like where it's at the head too, but you don't start there. And then there is some that if somebody wanted that or needed that, let's say they're already a fighter and they're going, I got to be able to do some of this at the head level. Well, if they can't do it at their body, it's like, look, you can't even do this at your body level, and the head's harder because it's so much bone.
Yeah.
And so now you've got ways that you can move and relax and all kinds of stuff. And there's some training for that, and it can be done very nice and then built up. Right, there's a progression there so that you can get to where you can really do shots and that kind of thing. Although ideally, for me, if somebody's saying, hey, we're going to hit you in the head again and again, or we're going to hit you in the heart again and again, or we're going to hit you in the throat again and again, or we're going to hit you in the groin again and again, this is not healthy. You don't want this. And so you do want to train and be able to do it, but you don't want to make a regular habit if you're just taking shots. You're going to end up dying real young, or having other, having boxer, the boxer problems where they're punched, yeah. Where they've got damage because they took too many bad hits to those places. And even though they could weather it better and realistically for their martial art, it was still really unhealthy for them. And so there's just some really smart overall things there that ideally are being done, but that are being done very carefully and being done so that you're not overdoing, so that you're doing it well, and that you're not overdoing it or receiving a lot of damage to any of these vital areas that really aren't so good about taking damage, right? That over time, it's a problem. It's not hard to give somebody a concussion. I literally can do it, take an open hand, like if you think a bunch of the Tai Chi moves, and it'll look like I just went, I can't even do it to his arm because his arm's injured right now from something he did. But if I'm here, bang, just that, I give most people a concussion right now. And so so you don't want to be doing that, right? Because it's to most people, like if I did that to students regularly, then I have a bunch of students that are like, oh, okay, we're training how to fight with Tai Chi, well, that's my name, and oh God. So you have to be smart about it. And there is ways to train it, and there's ways to train it safely. And to build it up so that you can do better and more, but carefully and not overdoing it, for sure.
Thank you.
I know some of you on the call were at your hard style training that you just had recently, hard style fighting training. And maybe they could comment a little bit on, I just went over some of these points having to do with fighting that I see in clear Tai Chi: proper positioning, stable footwork, control space, internal skills to receive blows, and proper endurance from breathing, cohesive strategy and tactics, where you're actually using the moves out of the form. You can actually pull the actual moves off. timing, psychologically preparing you for combat. Maybe some of you could talk a little bit about the hard style we just went through, what you experienced through that.
Well, I could say to jump in.
He's got the benefit, by the way, I'll add this real quick before he tells you whatever he's going to tell you. He saw a guy attacking me where I did that method for real.
And I actually was attacked later where I did the method for real, not as soon as I should have. But it goes to what Phil was saying, where I actually had to turn it on like 3 to 4 punches to my head into the fight. I was already.
And to be honest, from everything I've heard, it wasn't like he said, "Hey man, let's fight."
Right.
It was bam, bam, bam. Oh crap, I'm being attacked.
Right.
Surprise.
And so, but yeah, I got a little cut over my eye. Some of the like muscles and tendons in my jaw kind of swole up for a day, and it was kind of hard to chew. And it had an effect, but I didn't get a concussion. I didn't get knocked out. He didn't cave my skull in.
He's had the training that I was talking about too for building that up. So he was able to, even in the midst of being hit, to have that online right now. Otherwise, it would have either given him the concussion or knocked him out. It would have either technically knocked him out or it would have knocked him out cold. The dude was up. Everything he said, his dude like jumped on him and was up over top of him, swinging, trying to take him out.
And
you can kind of see that with the lumps. But anyway,
yeah. But then I did turn on the hard method that way, and it worked. It worked very effectively. It worked in every way that you're talking about, but I had to have every one of the pieces that you're talking about really online. I had to be very mindful of controlling the space, had to keep my feet moving and really under me, but moving the way we do in the hard method. I had to be very aware of my position in relation to him and what kinds of responses I might have to come up with. Not that I was thinking about them in terms of Tai Chi moves, but I was ready to do those kinds of applications based on whatever he was trying. Had to use the breathing and my voice and that kind of stuff. And that intensity and that preparedness for like, this is a violent encounter. He's already slugged me a bunch of times. This is not a joke. This is not.
And he's having to think that while the dude is still doing it.
Right. And so, I had to have every one of those pieces there, and then it worked exactly like it was supposed to. And I was able to control the space with it well enough where he wasn't able to land another shot. And I actually drove him back towards the door. And then I told him, get out of here. And he did. He turned and ran out the door.
By the way, this was a trained MMA guy.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been in a bunch of fights.
Yeah, I didn't know that at the time. I found that out later, but yeah.
One of the things that happens when I'm training hard method, and you all of you who were at the last class experienced it, is that somebody that sees it from the side, if they saw the whole training, at some point there, one of the things that people would go, and he had noticed it before, I don't remember if he had commented on it before or not, from seeing me at other times, is that there's a point there where when I'm trying to convey what should be going on, I get really, really, really intense. And I get intense because I want you to get the reality of that situation. Like, this ain't playtime and it's not going to be fun or nice. And he had seen me do that and all that. And from what I gathered, had thought that I was just being kind of extreme on the self-defense side or something. And after he got attacked and he came back, the first thing he said was, I get it now.
It felt like it all clicked into place on the spot, because I knew under the pressure of this guy who's like, if I mess up any little thing, he's going to get me and probably wrestle me to the ground and God knows what from there. And it all had to be on, and it all had to be right. And every aspect of what that entire list that you just gave, Mark, every piece of that had to be present in that moment.
Fortunately, the mental pieces. So
right. Yeah.
He had it to use. He just hadn't used it for real with that real hardcore mindset before, where it's, you better do this or else it's going to be bad. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
Oh,
go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say, one of the things that we with Clear Tai Chi we do is a lot of the internal energy work. And when that energy is turned on and you have your body structure correct, it does not take much force to break boards, or if you're in a fight, break bones. And one of the things that surprised me was when you turn it on and you go into that hard method, how easy it is to break things without even trying. And I think one of the dangers of real Tai Chi fighting is it's not designed to be sport. You know, if you're going to have to use this, you're going to use this to try to take the person out as fast as possible and be done. And having seen Tai Chi fighting and learning it with you, Sifu, man, it's scary stuff. I would not want to go up against somebody who really knows it, because it will move fast. It will move faster than you realize, and it will strike harder than you realize.
But
I
full
know.
body power of a shot. So it's whatever you weigh times that speed going into each hit. And so you don't have to hit somebody too awful many times if that's right.
Yeah.
Most people's head are not designed to take that, and body are not designed to take that kind of force being applied like that.
I know one time I was sparring with Harry, and he was turning it on but he was not 100% there. He was moving the right way, and I tried getting in there, and he just tapped me very lightly. And I know he was pulling everything because he didn't want to hurt me. But man, it took 4 days before I got rid of that.
Oh man.
I didn't tell you that because I didn't want you to feel bad, but yeah, I mean, and I know you are not on completely. You were practicing fully, but you were pulling it a little bit. So if I did get in there, you weren't going to hurt me.
Yeah.
So a lot of that, when they talk about internal, I would say the strength is internal. You don't really see it because the muscles are not tensing like you see people get.
Yeah, tension locks off weight, and it's hard to. There are ways to apply whole body weight with tension, but it's really hard. You're not going to be moving a whole lot, and normally, and other things, and it's hard to sustain because you're having to physically use everything you've got the whole time. Versus when you're doing it with a connected body, properly relaxed in the Tai Chi, proper real Tai Chi way of doing it, you can sustain it for a long period of time and still have it be very, very correct. So, and still with speed and power. Just it's a different power source than tension. So it's all your muscles and your body and your weight and your bones and your muscles and all that. That part's the same. The tool is there. It's just a different kind of and what you're doing to get power, different kinds of force, right? It's a whole body weighted power. And so there's tricks to making sure that that's on right. Tai Chi does them. Real Tai Chi Twin does them. And all that. And so, yeah. All right, Mark.
So I just wanted to mention, Jim, the danger was not that Harry would have felt badly if he known how much he hurt you. The danger was he might have spent a week gloating.
Oh man. Hey, if you come into that, that shows you.
Don't mess with guys from Jersey or New York.
There you go.
I know what you're talking about, though. I was Harry's partner for some of that, and there was definitely some ringing forearms and some other shots in there, and not that he was trying to kill me or anything. He was just doing the method, and I waded in just a little too far and got zinged. And
that does explain that statement, though, when being interrupted. Hey, I'm doing Tai Chi here.
There you go. I took some shots too. It's impossible to take that training and not get a little something. Well, that's good. You should know what it feels like. So you're not shocked when you get right, to a degree. Yes.
When people want to know about that one to the head, I'll usually take a shoulder or something and have them do that and tap that. And I've not found anybody in a good long time that I've done that to the shoulder and then go, would you really want one of those upside the head? Like, no. And then usually their buddy's standing there and they're like, but you like really cracked me. And it's like, their buddy's like, no, he looked like he did that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. All right, Mark.
Yeah, I was just gonna say in regards to the power element of that is, how long have you been doing this, Harry? The Tai Chi with Steve Clear?
Oh, with Seafood Clear, 13-ish years or so.
Okay.
About, yeah.
My partner was one of your students, I think, Diego.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. And so how many years does he have?
At Tai Chi, like one-ish, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. So he was my partner. And
Yeah.
by the time we got to the third day, that was killing my arms.
Yeah, sure.
He just, the power was amazing, you know?
Well, you're learning to use full body weight. And so
Yeah.
like Seafood
And
even says,
every part of your move and every hit. Yeah.
yeah. So
Impre-
even if
impressive.
you're
Yeah.
a teenage girl and you weigh 120 pounds or something, who wants 120 pounds to their head?
By the way,
Yeah.
he was holding a very thick, heavy pad, and what did his shoulder was we had about 100-pound girl
Mm-hmm.
hitting the pad, but correctly, and that's what jacked his shoulder up.
Wow.
Yep.
Mm.
It was
Okay.
probably the 100-pound girl. It might have been the 80-pound girl, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Her
It was-
sister.
It was one of them.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Brought a whole new respect to fight like a girl.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, and I mean, it was through a heavy bag, and
A
it was
serious
like
heavy bag.
you know, a night of training or whatever. But yeah, it jacked up my shoulder under the power of it. And I have been trained to hold up those heavy bags. Like I was one of the trained attackers for when Harry went through that program, and
But it had been a while since he'd done it.
it had been, but I know how to do that, and I've done it a bunch before, and managed to not get injured like that. But the real proper 100-pound girl was all it took.
He might have underestimated the 100-pound girl.
I
too.
might have slightly. She's not Carly, and that was the trait. If it was Carly, I would have known better. But yeah, I just have to treat all 100-pound girls like they're Carly. And just
They're learning how to fight with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's what they were working on. They were doing the hard method. So yeah.
Yeah, the two things from that hard style that jumped out at me though, that really stood out was one was you explained how the method turned off fear and put you into the correct mindset for fighting.
How to work it so that it'll do that.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, very impressive. You know, it takes having trained external type martial arts for decades. That's
Yeah.
probably one of the hardest things to try to transmit to a beginner student is how to get over that fear component in combat.
If you're in
And,
motion, if you're frozen in place, if somebody's standing there
Mhm.
and the fear turns on, it's really hard to turn that fear into anything else but fear, but freezing.
Mhm.
It'll turn into freezing.
Yeah.
If you're in motion, it's really hard to get overwhelming fear that freezes you, unless what's coming at you is so overwhelming that you just know to your core that you're doomed, and then maybe you would freeze then. But if it's not that, then if you can easily turn that fear into a flight response, and that flight response into a fight response, and you're already in motion. So that's really key that way for how that footwork and all that works to do that.
That was a very effective. The way you explained it, taught it was very effective.
Yeah. Well, and it had
That-
not just explain it, but have you do it. That's
Yeah.
the key. And then do it
Yeah.
under enough duress to where it's going to come through. And that's kind of the hard part, because you obviously don't want to start too extreme or it just mess the person up. But you also have to build it up to where it's extreme enough that they're getting what they need to get out of it. And it's tricky on the training side. Because ideally what you would do is have somebody standing there that was a fighter that's not that is in their weight class and towards all those kinds of things, but where it's like, you're going to fight that person. That's going to be with maybe some pads and things for some safety, but they're going to punch you in the head. It's going to suck. And so you better train with that in mind. And I've just noticed that if you can get somebody on that right pace, sometimes with Tai Chi folks, it can be a little hard, a little difficult,
Yeah.
I appreciate the wanting to be soft, but there's a difference between soft and collapsed. They're not the same thing. By the way, the hard method does not mean tension. Think about it like if you have a wave of water, there's water that would come and kind of like surge around you. sort of a thing. And then there's a wave that when it gets to you, it picks you up and it carries you. And you're kind of in it, being moved by it. And so that would go towards like a harder water quality. And so anyways, so don't confuse hard and tension for what we're talking about. They're not, it's not a tension based method. None of the Tai Chi is that, if it's done properly and fully correctly. All right.
So the last year when I went over was covering proper positioning and then some real basic forward backward stepping. And so this year I'm going to go to that kind of that next level, moving side to side, just to open them up to the idea, getting used to it. And so it's going to be dealing with side to side movement and look left, look right with cloud hands. And so it's just going to be, we're going to hit the ground running. So the night before, when we talk about our workshop, the description will all be done there. And then when they get to the training, we're hitting the ground running. It's going to be drill, 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 drill. Where I'm going to start at a very basic level.
I'm looking forward to seeing, because of the training and the other experience you've got, you know, with the MMA and with the Lei Tai and the different fighting stuff and the judo and the you know, those things, and the kickboxing, all of it. I'll be curious to see how you're training side to side movement in a way that deals with some of the difficulties that can occur for that, and getting it within an hour. That should be pretty neat.
Well, hopefully it works as good as last year. I thought last year went pretty well. So the idea is that it'll improve defense by disrupting your opponent's initiative and confidence to attack effectively. By adjusting space, if you can affect their confidence, they oftentimes will not throw full power. If you can get them to be tentative, right out, you know, like before they even initiate, if you can make them unsure about how to initiate, they don't follow through completely because they're really kind of testing.
Yeah, they're testing. And so because they're testing the space, to fire on the space, they're not, most people's testing is not going to be full power.
Yeah. And so I want them to always be testing.
It could be kind of harsh on you.
Yeah, I don't want them to ever feel confident when they throw it. I want them to always be testing.
Yeah.
And then another thing is, if you move properly,
some of that will go to the skill of the other fighter, obviously.
Yeah.
And so with that, and you tell me, would be if you got somebody who tested and then fired, and how to deal with that as well. You know, that they get a test, but as soon as they test, whether they got something or not, they've gauged what they could gauge, and then they fire on it. Because some people will fight, some people will just start swinging, right?
Yeah.
And so coming in there like mad in the first place. Now, if they're against somebody that's like deer in the headlights, they'll just run them over and beat them really fast. But if you get a fight, I've seen fighters, like some of the stuff in the tough man competitions were good for seeing this, because about a third of the people who showed up would come out, and then the bell would ring or whatever, and they would just boom, 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 and here they come, everything they got. And some people, you'd see them go down to that right quick, or two people doing that, and one or both of them would end up out for the next round. But then you'd get somebody in there they do that against somebody who really knew how to fight. And the dude would just kind of, you know, be moving well. And about 30 seconds out, this person who keeps hitting air, and or when they struck him, it's like glancing blows that aren't doing much, and they get winded. They get exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes a really different fight after that.
And so that's another thing. If you move properly with the side to side movement, you end up making the opponent's attack arrive early or late, which means you don't absorb the full blow.
Yeah.
Because you're not standing where he thought you were going to be.
You're not in the sweet spot where it's,
and it'll put you, if you do it properly. I'm sorry, go ahead. What's that?
No, I was going to say something that's really important about the clear method of fighting is that, from my perspective, from the only 2 times that I've actually had to do hand-to-hand combat in a war situation, was I was already exhausted before it started. I had already, the one time I probably had gone for 2 or 3 days without sleeping or eating. So
that's
all of these wonderful techniques where you jump up and use full power and and all these. It wasn't there to begin with. I mean, maybe for the first 5 or 10 seconds to adrenaline, and then it makes it worse when it's going to be a 3-hour battle.
Yeah.
So that is one of the things that I think is really important. Is like, hey, you're not going to go into
A real fight.
situation in war where, oh yeah, I've had a good night's sleep, I've been eating regularly, I've still stayed nice warm, I've stayed nice and cool. No, then you're miserable when it gets down to that situation. Things have gone horribly wrong before you have to actually go ahead and fight.
Yep. Well, and in the street, who's the criminal? The criminal doesn't normally go after somebody that looks like, I'm ready for you. You know, they're going after people that look like they're low on sleep, having a bad day, less capable and all that stuff. They're going after the victim.
Over 65.
Yeah. Yeah, all that.
Well, and that's, to bring it kind of full circle to the question Mark posed sort of at the beginning of all of this, is Tai Chi even a martial art? And well, obviously it is.
Tai Chi Chuan is
that way. Tai Chi Chuan.
The stuff they're calling Tai Chi that they're specifically calling it as Tai Chi. They'll tell you the people really doing it. That's not a martial art, and they're right.
Right. But the people that are really doing it as a martial art are really doing it as a martial art. Now, is it the most effective martial art out there? I mean, if you really just wanted self-defense, there's faster systems to like get you that. Now, the hard method being kind of an exception to that, because the hard method is probably the fastest, like real self-defense method that can be imparted the quickest that I've seen out there. But in terms of like the complete art of Tai Chi Chuan, it's not really about that. It wasn't really about that. It wasn't about becoming like the best fighter as fast as you possibly could. It was about staying a competent, remaining a competent fighter and able to defend yourself well into old age. It was all the old masters that got together and started comparing notes about how can we do this and how can we keep up with these guys and deal with what they can bring, but without doing all that fancy jumping around and all that stuff. Because we're old and tired half the time. Like, we can't do it that way, but we still need to be able to defend ourselves against that. And so for anyone who is thinking about martial arts for realistic self-defense, coming at it from that perspective and recognizing that, like, I'm going to have to be able to defend myself, if it's real, against someone who's probably going to be bigger and stronger than me. They're probably going to pick the time. I'm not going to choose the time. They're going to come attack me. Out of the blue. They're gonna do it when they think they have an advantage. And so that's where Tai Chi really excels as a martial art. But the problem is that people don't take that. People assume that the art will give them that. And that's not quite how it works. You have to take responsibility for that and train for that with the art. And that's possible for you to get out of the art of Tai Chi, but you have to be coming at it from that perspective and with that mindset and really working towards that as a goal. And if you're not doing those things, then Tai Chi won't just magically impart that skill to you. You have to really
doing the set again and again and again does not produce that result.
Right. And even sparring against people that are just your size and strength and in your weight class and
don't know anything about what they're doing.
Right. That's not going to do it either. Like it really, if you want that skill, it's there to be had in Tai Chi, but you have to train for it specifically and with that in mind. And not enough people do that.
How you practice is how you perform.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's one of the most important things in our push hands method, for example, is that, we say it early and often, is play with as many people as you can and as many types of people as you can, and play with people that are a lot bigger than you, play with people that are a lot smaller than you, like play with, all sorts of different body types and shapes and strategies and skill sets and natural abilities and whatever else, and learn how to deal with it all. Because that's what Tai Chi is for. And so, yes, it is. There are really expedient ways to just get the self-defense, but Tai Chi is that much bigger picture, much more kind of all-encompassing and a much more sophisticated martial art if you study it all the way through. You could if you just wanted.
By sophisticated, by the way, it doesn't mean intricately difficult, because that doesn't work very well in self-defense situations.
Right.
It's sophisticated in that the logic that's behind it, the strategy, the strategic understanding and application of your body with the proper mindsets is really intelligent. It's really smart for that kind of a thing. You know, and if you look at, a lot of people think of Thai boxing, I'll use that as the example for a minute, as being kind of a dumb martial art. And I don't mean dumb like it doesn't work. It works fine. But they think, well, you hit the other guy, bang, and you elbow the other guy, bang, and you use these kicks, and it's sort of simple like that. And for the basic moves, it's not, there's not a whole lot of moves to it. It's like, generally speaking, now some of the Muay Thai styles have a different thing, but your Thai boxing, it's like a dozen techniques or something. I mean, it's not a vast martial art, but you train those moves under a very wide variety of circumstances and speeds and distances and sizes and all kinds of things, and to position them and to use them from different positions that you're going to be in, which can be quite a range when you've got an active opponent. And so they take those things and do a lot with them. And that stuff with the understanding of the distances and the timing, that's where the sophistication comes in. That makes a difference where you get a Thai boxer where what he's going to do is he's going to kick you or punch you. Well, so does kickboxing. And yet he goes up against the average kickboxer and destroys them. The timing understandings and the positioning understandings and the use of those tools understandings is different, and different enough to make that difference. And so that's the sophistication. And in Tai Chi, it's that kind of those kind of things that there's quite a bit more tools in the art and the toolbox, but the understanding and the fleshing them out, that is really what our fast apps is. That's what I'm doing with a bunch of it, is I'm trying to give you an idea for different distances and different positions and stuff that's right there in front of you. That's really like you're doing the move. And most people, they see that and they go, well, I just placed my hand there. And it's like, no, you just did like 10 different things. You just don't have the eyes for it because you've not studied it like that. But in that program, I'm absolutely putting that across. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just to say another thing.
By the way, that's at clearmartialarts.com.
Yeah, the fast steps.
Module 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Another thing that in the past I was looking for when I was assessing martial arts to figure out how to proceed, right, was whatever martial art it is, when someone jumps me, can I do this cold? Not warmed up. And so a thing that I think that the outside world's not understanding is that if you're practicing Tai Chi, you're developing a Tai Chi body where you're ready to go without warming up. You don't have to sit and like stretch out or something.
Yeah.
What's that?
Tai Chi body and mind.
Yeah. Yep. And so the more I do the Tai Chi, the better the outcome is, where I can just have somebody come up and do something and it just kind of works.
Yeah, that's right.
And it almost works better because it's without thought. It's spontaneous.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a demo we did where we've got it on one of our videos that we use for a demo thing, where I'm it was actually in Peoria, and I was at doing a workshop up there, and there were like 50 people who had shown up for a demonstration on the first night. And this guy that's pretty stout comes out of the audience and is like, would you do some of that stuff to me? And it was like, yeah, fine, whatever. And so did some of it. And at some point when I was like, well, go ahead and grab my arm. And I'm thinking, hold your arm out there, grab my arm, like, grab my arm, I'm going to do this thing. And the guy snatches my arm. Wham! Oh, shit. Because the guy, you see it on the video, the guy goes airborne and over. And it's a touch, but he surprised me. And it was that thing where even though I was like walking it off, it just surprised, and my body reacted with appropriate stuff. And it was just lucky he didn't get really badly injured, because it sent him sailing, and it's on the video. You can see it.
Something I noticed early on when I first started doing this with you is I was pulling movements randomly out of the form. And what I was looking for was startle reflex. So what happens is you go in, certain things when people do naturally, when they go into like a startle.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the movements lend themselves to that startle reflex.
Most of them.
Mm-hmm. And then the ball's rolling. Once you go into the startle reflex, then it just kind of does its thing.
And what it is, it's in Tai Chi, it would be worded as an exchange or a change from yin to yang. But then there's slow exchange, and you're doing a lot of that in the form, which is really healthy and good for the whole nervous system in a lot of different ways and other body parts because of that. But then it can be done where that exchange from one to the other is really extremely rapidly quick. And and then when it's fast enough, it becomes very, very, very explosive and very, very powerful.
It is one of the kind of the genius aspects of Tai Chi that's like built into the system that you don't necessarily have to be aware of in order to benefit from it. But it's a combination of factors, but it's what you just talked about, Mark, is that Tai Chi has a number of, like a lot of movements that cover a range of different kind of natural fear responses, body responses to being like startled. And so, but it moves through them, and it keeps moving through them, and it moves through them in very intelligent ways that are very martially responsive and effective. And so if you do get startled like that, more often than not, if you've been training the Tai Chi, you know, the Tai Chi Chuan for the fighting the way that we do and self-defense, you're going to find yourself in a position that is familiar and that you have smart, intelligent motions like from that position that are you know, responsive and that cover you in different ways, even if you don't quite know what's going on yet.
Yeah, Tai Chi, as most people know, it is, even though there is the hard and the soft, it is primarily soft and softer, right? And if you want your nervous system to be really fast, the way to do it is the softer you are, the faster the nervous system can operate. The more the softer you are, the more tense you are, it slows the nervous system down. Fastest nervous system I've ever seen, it was pointed out to me by Uncle when Chase was a baby, is babies. A baby will, if any little thing, you watch their whole body will jump to anything. And you're not trying to do that, obviously, because it's sort of a traumatizing sort of an effect. But they all do it. And the point being that it's very, very, very quick. You can see that it's very quick when you know what you're looking at. And it's not hard to see it though. And so it has to do with that softness. As you get older and more tense, then you know maybe your nervous system comes on board. If something happens, maybe tomorrow your nervous system will show up for it. But you know it takes a lot longer. But the softer, the more softer training, obviously, the faster and more responsive it is. And when you can use it properly, it translates to speed, power. At contact, you don't need distance for it if it's right.
I think it's worth mentioning also, when the body has any kind of stress, you're worried about something, you have all kinds of stress. The best way to relieve that is to do something, like get up and move, right? And so if one of your main stress relieving movements happens to be that you're practicing your Tai Chi, well, then you've already trained your body under stress to move like that. Right. So then if you have yes, and if you have an acute stress, like you're being attacked, your body will naturally go into that solution.
Yep. If you're training right and properly and enough, then yes. And you can make it part of your daily life as opposed to just when you're doing the set. This is part of what we do at Clear Tai Chi. Clear Tai Chi Chuan. Yep. Go.
One question I had, so obviously moving back and forth is like the first way to learn stepping and that makes perfect sense.
Back and forth, right, forward and back.
Okay, but one question is, so would the second level, would moving diagonally forward and back at an angle, would that be a good response, or side to side a better second step?
Tai Chi uses those, and it's real thing. It's typically going to be at an angle like you're talking about.
Diagonally back and forth.
Yeah, in some form, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Almost always.
And
Like it could be forward or back, it could be side to side, but most of the time it's going to be on a quadrant off to an angle like that, at a diagonal of some sort, even though it might be a more acute or more obtuse diagonal. It's still typically a diagonal.
Phil, that fits in, if you look at organically how people evolve in fighting, that fits kind of in with the side to side. Side to side is where you start getting into the odd angle. So it's at a rudimentary level, it'll just be right left. But that's where you're going to start to get more intricate stepping patterns. You're adjusting to the situation, basically.
Yeah, it takes it from being aligned to really moving on that plane. And yeah, but to be clear, Mark wasn't talking about like an official training progression for footwork or anything. This is just something that he's noticed, that like as you get more sophisticated fighters, they come with more sophisticated footwork, and typically in these kinds of ways.
So cool. All right, Mark, anything else that you wanted to put out there today?
Nope, that's it. Just we'll work on. All I'm doing is this very rudimentary. I want to get people open to the idea and lay out the kind of the rationale behind the sideways movement. Get people comfortable with the idea.
Cool.
And it'd be useful to a beginner as well as an advanced person. Is what
Well, that's one of the many classes that you can see at the Clear Tai Chi Family International Family Gathering this year. And as you can tell, he's excited about that topic. So he did a different aspect of it last year. We'll probably do a different aspect of it again next year. And so if you're wanting to come out and see some of this and experience it live and firsthand and get hands on and have fun and great food and good times and more fun and all that, come to the Clear Tai Chi International Family Gathering in June. First full weekend in June at the Hilton Hotel at the Knoxville Airport, which is actually in Alcoa, Tennessee. And the website for that is taichigathering.com.
And even if for some reason, you can't make it this year or whatever, check out the website, see what's involved, keep it in mind for when you might have an opportunity to join us. And, you can, if you're into Tai Chi, and even if you can't make it yourself, you can still like share on social media on like Facebook and Twitter with just one click directly from the page. There's a downloadable flyer if you want to print some out and pass them out. If you've got Tai Chi students or people that you hang out with that might be interested in this, you can still help us make this a hugely successful event, even if you can't make it yourself. So check out what's available for everybody at taichigathering.com. Keep it in mind. Try to put it on your calendar if you can join us. We'd love to see you there. But even if you can't make it, please help us spread the word.
Yep. And then for the fighting, we've got 3 different DVDs, 2 or 3 different ones, including the eye, throat, and groin shots of Tai Chi. It's how every move has at least one of them in there. We've got the extreme bone breaks, which is new as of this recording. And we've got the module 5 in our intermediate program that's available to people. You don't have to have done the other stuff to get that. And that's at clearmartialarts.com. And avail yourself of those materials. And thank you for watching and all that good stuff. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mark. Great topic today. And looking forward to seeing it at the gathering this year. Everybody, please stay on the call after, because I got one other thing from our business meeting that I forgot to put across that I'll make sure to ask you or tell you. So stay on for a minute.
All right, but thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks at home, and more next time.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Tai Chi fights with internal power. The moves are important, but without internal power, it is just empty choreography. It is even said that with the right internal power skills, you could defend yourself with just one move. On fightingtaichi.com, I proved the point. I created a course that teaches the must-haves for generating internal power and a bunch of different ways to use that internal power for self-defense. Each of the applications comes right from the very first move in most Tai Chi forms. And although it's all the same move, it does a lot of different things when you put the internal power into it. The secrets of the first move in Tai Chi shows you how to do that. Get it right now at fightingtaichi.com. That's fightingtaichi.com.